up, everybody? Welcome into Loaded Box Vids. I will be your host, Mikey Ostrowski, from the Loaded Box podcast. And I'm actually joined by my good buddy, Dylan Mazzola. He's the newest member of the LBP team. He's going to be co-hosting this video series with me. Dylan, welcome in, man. How you doing today?
I'm great. It's always a good day when you can start off the morning, the early afternoon, talking some football. So I'm very excited.
I know. Honestly, I expected us to do this much later in the day, but 11 a.m. on a Thursday, I'll take it. It gives me something to do first thing in the morning for sure. It's a hell of a lot better than slaving away at work, so I can't complain about that.
Yes, football is usually better than work conversations or related topics. So, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So typically, what we do on Loaded Box is before we start anything, we'll always crack open a beer, take a shot of something. It's 11 in the morning, so I'm probably going to opt out of that one today. But as always, we'll get the video started and let's get loaded. I will take my sip of water. Just splashed all over myself. But anyway, so the very first video that we're going to do for you guys today, it's going to be more of an introductory video than anything. But in the off season, we're going to be focusing a lot on the dynasty aspect of fantasy football because obviously if we're waiting around for redrafts, we're not going to have any videos until June, maybe July. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a two-man dynasty startup mock draft. I'll share my screen here so we can get that on up. All right, so now we got it up here. Let me move us out of the way so you can actually see the board. So I'm going to be drafting out of the number 5 spot. Dylan's going to be drafting out of the number 6 spot. And we're going to treat this out there, between January and, April or May. Those are typically the big times to do dynasty startups. A lot of people get involved. I don't know about you guys. Dylan, I don't know about you, but every year I tell myself I'm not going to get involved in any more leagues. And then I always seem to join one or two more because –
That's all cap. He's lying to all the people watching and listening to this. My man slowly increases leagues he increases it every couple years, then he has to trim back down, and then it goes back up. It's like a revolving door. So I think next season, Mikey will probably cut down 3 or 4, but then 2 years from now, he'll be back up 3 or 4. So it's just.
I hope I'm cutting down leagues. I literally was in 13 leagues this past season. I don't know how anyone does that many on a yearly basis. Like, I'm used to doing 4, maybe 5. You're right. I upped it way too much last year. This year, hopefully I can hold myself back from those dynasty startups. But That's why we have videos like this, because I can get my fill and still draft a team and we'll have fun with it and everything like that. So we will kick off the draft. So let me hit the start button here and begin draft. So Dylan and I are using the Sleeper app. We're going to be drafting against the computers. Just need the computer to pick. I think I messed up something, so let's pause the draft here. Draft settings, I got to add in a timer. Okay, so we'll update that. We'll resume the draft, and we'll get the computer drafting here. All right, there we go. So Christian McCaffrey goes number 1, Alvin Kamara. Pat Mahomes goes number 3 overall in a dynasty startup. This is not super flex, so that's kind of weird. But I guess the Sleeper app has different algorithms. So me personally, I'm always going for a running back with my first pick, no matter what. I mean, they are the most important aspect of your fantasy team for the here and now. But obviously you want a guy that's going to produce in the future. So right now I'm kind of torn. Do I want Dalvin Cook or do I want the upside with Jonathan Taylor? Since this is a dynasty league, I'm probably going to go with Jonathan Taylor, which is crazy because I absolutely hated Jonathan Taylor this time last year. I was the biggest – actually, no, screw that. Completely forgot. Saquon Barkley's there. Saquon Barkley's on my team at the 105. Yeah, now, Dylan, you're up. Talk us through it.
Well, I'm having the same mindset that you're having. Like, you could take Taylor and get the younger running back. You could take Cook with the upside, or you could kind of go in the medium ground and take Nick Chubb, who's generally a healthy player and is consistent. I think he's usually in the top 3 to 5 every year for running backs for yard per carry. So he's an elite running back. And I do like Nick Chubb probably more than most people do. So definitely going running back. Just a matter of who I decide, but this is a mock draft, so I'm not going to, overthink it. And for the sake of going with a more established player, I will actually take Nick Chubb. And you might be thinking I'm crazy. I'm an FSU fan, so I like Dalvin Cook. I just don't like the fact that he gets hurt every year.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook's health is always a concern. I got to say, I am surprised that you took Nick Chubb over a lot of these guys. But you know what? That's the fun part about Dynasty startups is that you get to do whatever the hell you want in them.
Nick Chubb's only 25.
And, it's a lot of planning for the future.
We also off camera, we texted about how is Taylor's perceived value going forward with the quarterback change.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. One of the big appeals with Jonathan Taylor is that he's a captain check down Phillip Rivers for a while there. So God only knows what's going to happen with JT's PPR upside. I don't know if you're watching this. If you're in a standard league, half PPR, full PPR, whatever you're in, just switch over to full PPR. That's the clear superior way of playing fantasy football. But anyway, Dylan, so you are back on the clock
yes,
at pick 207.
Going running back again, and the reason why I took a guy like Chubb or took Cook is I knew that I was going to go with the younger guy here in the next spot to kind of do like a 1-2 punch, like get the older established player and get a younger guy with upside. Now I have to not do the homer in me and take a certain Mr. Cam Akers.
I thought you were going to.
Running backs on the board. I don't really like this player's future per se, but Dynasty community is still very high in him. So I think if you were in a similar spot, I would draft this man right here because at the very least you could probably get a lot for him, and he still does have value.
Yeah, I agree. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you got to look at his rookie year. He had over 1,100 scrimmage yards. He only had 5 touchdowns, but he was in a timeshare with Le'Veon Bell for half the year. And then Darrell Williams surprisingly took a lot of third downs away from Clyde Edwards-Helaire throughout the year. I think the sky is definitely the limit with him. Andy Reid is going to unlock him. If anyone's going to do it, it's literally going to be Andy Reid. So I don't think we have anything to worry about with him. Plus, you have Pat Mahomes there. I mean, Pat Mahomes requested that they went out and draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So obviously, I think they're going to get him involved more going forward. Now, for those of you wondering what Dylan's magical fixation is with Cam Akers, he has a total hard-on for Cam Akers. Even this time last year, before Cam Akers was even considered, a top 3, top 4 dynasty running back for last year's class. I mean, Dylan was like, I got to get Cam Akers in my draft. And, you didn't end up getting him, though.
No, I have not gotten him in any single league. I'm going to try to get him in our one dynasty league, not our main one, the other one. But, hey, it's looking like my hype for him is not unjustified at this point.
Yeah, dude, he looks really good. And you know what? Depending on what the Rams do, especially at the quarterback position, his value could go up as soon as next year. I mean, if they turn him into a workhorse or if they get a more competent quarterback and that offense just comes together, I mean, Cam Akers could be a total stud. For that reason, I am considering taking Cam Akers here because I do like having the 1-2 punch at running back. DeAndre Hopkins is still there, who still has a very solid 2 to 3 years left in his career. Or in his fantasy career. Obviously, he's going to be around a lot longer than that, but he's going to be truly elite in fantasy for the next few years, I'd say.
There's only a couple looking at the draft for your decision-making or anybody in a similar spot in the startup. As you can see, for running backs, there's still several good ones, but after you scroll down 6 or 7 players, it kind of gets to the RB2 and the meh territory. So it's like, you want to establish that now, and then just, receivers, you can always find some random dude. That's how I look at it. For
sure, and I completely agree with that. And for that reason, I'm actually going to take Austin Eckler. So I'm significantly higher than the consensus on Austin Eckler. I thought he was going to be a top 5, top 6 running back this past year. And honestly, if he didn't get hurt, with how often Justin Herbert targets that guy in the backfield, it would have been a very good possibility that Austin Eckler was going to finish as at least a top 7, top 8 running back had he played a full season. So I'm definitely very excited to get him on my team. And he's a lot younger than people think. And he has a contract with the team that he's on for the next 2 or 3 years. So the job stability is there. They went to him early and often in the season, and then they kept going back to him as soon as he got back on the field. Austin Eckler as an RB2 is incredible in my opinion, and I am absolutely amped to have him. Now comes a bit of a weird situation for me. So I have my 2 running backs, right? But I really, really cannot stress how much I love having elite running backs on my team. I'm almost tempted to go with a third one here because of how deep
Still 3 that
the
are good
receivers are.
left.
There are a handful that are left. So there's Cam Akers, who obviously we both like at this point. There's Miles Sanders. And then just looking at this list, there's Antonio Gibson, David Montgomery, and James Robinson. I'm not going to take David Montgomery because I have a sneaking suspicion it could be fool's gold with how he ended the season against a lot of easy.
You're not taking one of the first 3 you named, and I will let you rest assured I will take whatever 1 or whatever 2 out of the other one you do not take.
Well, see, and this is where my decision kind of boils down to. It's, am I going to be able to get a good enough wide receiver as my quote-unquote wide receiver 1 on my next turn? And I'm looking at the receiver list. I mean, Ridley's there, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, DJ Moore. Those are all guys that are there. And so I think I am going to opt for the running backs here. I really can't decide between Cam Akers and Miles Sanders. But you know what? Just to piss you off, I'm going with Cam Akers.
Thanks. I knew that was going to happen. I literally just talked it into fruition. I was talking about how much I love the man and how, he's still there. But no, I'm in the same situation. I think putting my, if I am an Eagles fan, I think putting that aside, I think Sanders would be I don't want to say safer pick, but the better pick in this situation, because one would think with them firing their coach in real life, they might actually use their top tier running back more in real life. But
yeah, that's one of the things I consider with Miles Sanders too, is because Doug Peterson hated giving a workhorse load to a running back. So depending on who the Eagles bring in, I mean, you never know. Miles Sanders could go literally through the fantasy roof next year.
Yeah. And I don't have him in any leagues. Well, I have him in one league. Well, it's actually ironic because I'm in 2 dynasty leagues, and it's the flip-flop. In one league, I have Gibson. In one league, I have Sanders. So either way, I'm drafting a player I already have. But I guess just to do the quote safer pick, because I already kind of took Chubb over Cook, which could bite me in the butt later, I'll do the Sanders one. So. Yeah,
I like that pick. I feel like it's very safe there. I got to say, I'm surprised that both you and I have gone 3 running backs to start. I mean, obviously, you always want someone stellar in the flex, but I think you and I have a pretty similar mindset on this.
I'm going to be able to – oh, man. Well, this is a dynasty, so I'm not even going to have – okay.
Who'd you go with there? Who'd you go with there, Terry McLaurin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very good, very safe pick. Terry's good enough to be a wide receiver 1 for most fantasy teams out there. So given that you have him with that trio of stud running backs that you have, yeah, I mean, you definitely can't complain about that aspect of his game.
If you're looking at the receivers, the next there's some younger guys there, but there's also guys like Allen and Evans and Cooper who are slowly going up in age. Like Cooper is only 26, but Evans and Keenan Allen are obviously older. So I figured out of that, I'd take Scary Terry, and then whoever you take, like if you go younger, I can just take one of the older guys who fall, like Thielen or Galladay, or you know what I mean, and still double down the position and walk away with three RB1s for both of us. Not essentially, like for real, and then 2 receivers.
For sure. I think here I'm also going to go receiver. As badly as I would like to draft James Robinson and just roll out 4 running backs every single week with the 2 flex positions that we have set up, it's definitely time to get a receiver. I'm going to say this out loud because I have 2 picks before you pick your next one. I'm going to take Keenan Allen here. As you were mentioning, he is getting up in age, but he's Justin Herbert's favorite target by a landslide. And while I'm less than pumped about having both Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen on the same team, because they're on the same team in real life, there's no denying the value in getting a bona fide wide receiver 1 in Keenan Allen at the end of the 4th round.
Yeah.
So I got to go him here. And if I'm thinking out loud, I'm hoping that DJ Moore falls to me at this next pick because he is a perfect balance of a good wide receiver 2, and just the age, the talent, everything about him. There's nothing to hate about DJ Moore's game. And if Carolina goes out and they bring in a quarterback, especially if it's one Mr. Deshaun Watson this offseason, I mean, DJ Moore he's going to be a wide receiver one moving forward.
I completely agree, and it looks like you're going to you're going to get your man. So that's a very good team. You have a youthful running back trio. DJ Moore's not that old, and Keenan Allen is a slot possession kind of guy. So he's older, but he might still stay relevant for 2-3 years.
Yeah, I can't complain with Keenan Allen as my wide receiver one. And then DJ Moore, honestly, I almost took DJ Moore in the 4th round at 408. So the fact that I was able to get him at 505, I'm actually pretty pumped about it.
That's incredible. I'm probably going to go receiver again just because it's starting to thin. You're going into like high upside receiver 2 territory. There's obviously some clear-cut favorites. So looking at the top, I like Brandon Ayuk, but I don't know what his value is going forward because A, they might trade Mr. Handsome and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Mr. Handsome.
B, Deebo Samuel hopefully should be healthy a whole year, so that will factor in the targets. Also, George Kittle missed a lot of time last year. So for anyone who likes Brandon Ayuk or has him, it's definitely a good dynasty player to own, but I don't know what his perceived value is going forward when and if they trade Jimmy G and when Samuels and Kittle are healthy predominantly the whole year. He's not going to get the boatload of targets he received last year. So
yeah, I don't know what to make of him either. I definitely like there's a lot to like on that San Francisco team, just in general, at the receivers at least, and with George Kittle. Obviously, George Kittle's not around anymore. Deebo Samuel is likely a later pick. I'm not sure where Sleeper has him projected, but they've got Deebo Samuel actually as the 97th overall rated player for Dynasty right now in Sleeper, which seems kind of low to me. But I guess with all those injury concerns, it kind of makes up for it. But so you got 1 minute left here on the clock. You have your wide receiver one in Terry McLaurin. You got your top 3 running backs in Nick Chubb, Clyde Edwards, and Miles Sanders. So what's the final decision for this pick?
Gonna go with one youthful receiver that I have upside in, even though in real life he's being kind of a weenie whiner.
I know who it is. Yeah, Chase Claypool. Dude, he is such a pussy. I mean, like, I can't say that too loud because he is an NFL player and he could totally kick my ass, but he is such a whiner, man.
There goes my plan. I was going to draft TJ Hawkinson on the round.
Oh, yeah, TJ Hawkinson looks like he went 509. Wow. Tua Tagovailoa, I can never say his name right, but he actually went 508.
I don't ever say it.
So I'm looking at the board, and a lot of quarterbacks are off. Actually, you and I are the only teams in this mock draft that have not drafted quarterbacks yet. Now, are you going to take that as in, like, it's time to get a quarterback, or are you taking that as in, oh, everyone else already got one, so now I can wait a couple of rounds? Because I think that's what I'm doing. I think I'm waiting a couple of rounds.
We can wait realistically and grab a guy like Brady, who still has like at least one more year left. So if you want to win it all, and then you can double down and grab a guy later, and like Sam Darnold, who might have upside if he throws some more. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to, especially because the best quarterback left is Aaron Rodgers, which is good, but he's also older. And I guarantee you, when we pass with him right now, he'll probably get auto picked to someone's team. You know, at the rate this is going. So.
Well, I got to be honest. I didn't realize Aaron Rodgers was still there. And with how he played this past year, I mean, that is a game-changing player for your starting squad. But that's assuming that he comes out and, has an MVP caliber year again next year, which God only knows what's going to happen this time next year. But yeah, my philosophy is that I will never go quarterback before round 7 or round 8, so I'm going to stick to that. I'm not going to take a quarterback this round. But you got 1 minute and 15 seconds left here on the clock.
Taking a guy.
So what are you looking at?
Taking a guy who people forgot about in real life a little bit. Also because the receivers left. I don't want Johnson because I already have Claypool. I like Henry Ruggs, but I think Henry Ruggs is going to be like a Deshaun Jackson player in real life, so he's going to be a boomer bust guy. I don't know if I want that on my fantasy team. It's too risky for my blood. I'm an Eagles fan. I'm not taking Rager, so that shows anything. DJ Chark, I like him, but I don't know what their quarterback situation. Tyler Lockett, same thing. I like him, but the dynamic's weird. I am torn on Michael Pittman. I do like his future.
I do too.
But there's this man that literally is a top-tier receiver, but he just didn't play this year.
Oh, Cortland Sutton. I actually really like that pick. A lot of people have completely forgot about him. And I got to say, you can take a look at what Tim Patrick did in Denver this year. And while he didn't do anything spectacular in terms of hauling in a billion passes, he scored almost every single game. He was the big red zone target that Denver called on. And that's exactly what Cortland Sutton is to this offense. But Cortland Sutton is twice the talent that Tim Patrick is. And if Denver ends up replacing Drew Lock like they've been, kind of toying around with, I think Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, for that matter, could go completely through the roof, which I was actually going to look in potentially taking Jerry Jeudy, but it makes sense. He was taken back in the 4th round, so whatever. My thoughts here is I have my 3 running backs. I have 2 receivers. I'm not particularly fond of any of the running backs on here to slot in as my 4th flex player, or my 2nd flex player, I should say. I'm probably going to go with the receiver here, and I'm torn between the top 2 guys actually listed on the sleeper app right now, and that's going to be Tyler Lockett and DJ Chark. So Tyler Lockett, he is the most underappreciated, undervalued receiver, arguably in the entire National Football League. I mean, he had over 100 catches this year, including the playoffs. He had a phenomenal year back in 2019. I mean, he's so consistent, but you got to wonder at what point is DK Metcalf completely running away with this offense? And maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe him and Lockett just work better with that whole balance thing. But Lockett, to me, he seems like one of those boomer bust players too. I feel like I'm either going to plug him in and get 6 points, or I'm going to plug him in and get 26 points.
That's why
I feel like there's not a.
Yeah.
What's that?
No, I was agreeing with you. I'm saying there's definitely some risk, but there's also extreme upside. That's why, if you notice, I drafted receivers in my team that work out of the slot.
Yeah, and it's not a bad tactic at all. And then you have your big red zone target in Cortland Sutton too. But I got 45 seconds here left on the clock, so I'm going to go ahead and make my pick. And I'm actually going to go with DJ Chark of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he had a very quiet year this year, between being hurt here and there, not having consistent quarterback play. But Jaguars completely revamping their team. Yeah, I mean they're bringing in a new coaching staff, and they have Trevor Lawrence coming to them at pick 101. And if Trevor Lawrence can't turn DJ Chark into a perennial wide receiver 2, then there's no hope for him. So I'm going to take the risk with DJ Chark.
Ronald Jones went. No, my plan.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Ronald Jones was a part of my plan here too, so you wouldn't have gotten him. But here I am. I have 3 receivers. I have 3 running backs. Aaron Rodgers is still there. And while it does go against my philosophy to take a quarterback this early, having a starting lineup with Aaron Rodgers, Barkley, Eckler, Cam Akers, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore on it, I mean, I got to do it. If I'm going for gold in year 1, Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback to help me get there. Plus, he could be like Brady. He's shown no signs of showing down. He could play well into his 40s. So maybe I'm going to have Aaron Rodgers for longer than I think. So I'm going to take him here.
All right, and I'm going to go a little – some might argue this player is going to go a little early here. But Mike, you will understand in a second. My love for this man knows no bounds, and I genuinely do think he's going to take a leap in the next season with his rookie quarterback. Going to go Mr. Mikey Gesicki.
Mike Gesicki, yep. I'm not surprised at all. You have a total man crush on Gesicki. And, as Tua gets a little bit better and – hopefully Miami goes out and with that 3rd overall pick, they draft that offensive lineman, Panui, however the hell you say his name. That could give Tua a lot of extra time in the pocket, and Mike Gesicki is going to be a direct benefit of that.
Also, looking at the draft, not mad because after I took him, Hunter Henry and Noah Fant went for tight end. So you're left with Mr. Evan, I'm always hurt, Ingram, Zach, I forgot how to play football, and a couple other. I mean, there's guys like Jonathan Smith that are there. There's guys like Jonathan Smith that are still there, but he took a step downwards towards the end of the year. I know you're high on him.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Jonnu Smith could also be on a new team this time in a few months
That's
too. I
true.
believe his contract's up, and I don't know if Tennessee has opened the extension talks with him yet, which I'd be very surprised if they didn't get an extension. But
Yeah, that's true. I'm the same with you with tight end. I don't like going early for tight end unless like Kelsey or someone falls. But I do at some point, like round 7 or 8. That's when I like taking one of the like good ones left, and then I can wait and take like a project, I guess, or like a high upside guy like later in the draft, and not you know what I mean, not worry
yeah,
about.
yeah, it's not a bad
I
idea.
don't know who I really want here. I might have to go quarterback just for the fact that there's not much left. Now, I'm gonna kind of break my own because you molded me into the monster I am. So I also don't take quarterbacks that early, and there's not much youth left, but there is a guy who's like kind of young. He's a ripe age of 32. And Mikey was on the phone with me maybe a week ago talking about how this man deserves credit and doesn't get any. And he's been top 10 quarterback the last 2 seasons fantasy-wise, and he'll probably be again next year. And that's Mr. Ryan Tannehill.
I love the pick.
Safe.
Oh, it's very safe. Ryan Tannehill last year in terms of points per game, he was top 7 or top 8. This past year, he played a full season with Tennessee. He was top 7, top 8. He's going to be Mr. Consistent for you.
He was the
and
12th quarterback off the board in this mock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 12th quarterback. So you can't go wrong with that. Literally the last person.
No, you can't go wrong with that at all. And he's still young enough to where he could potentially even get another contract once this one is done. So
yeah, that's
he's a
why
very safe option for the next few years.
I was thinking.
Well, and he's got A.J. Brown too, and A.J. Brown is arguably one of the best, if not the best, young receiver in the entire league. So, I mean, that's fantastic.
Well, there also wasn't much left. I like there. Like Jalen Hurts might not even start. Baker Mayfield, meh. Jared Goff, terrible. Tom Brady, great, but you never know. He could possibly. There's a chance he could retire. It's like a small chance. Matt Ryan,
Also true.
Matt Stafford, I love him, but I don't know where he's going to be. Daniel Jones, not with 10-foot pole. Carson Wentz, no. Actually, Carson Wentz will probably be a really good player if anyone watching for Dynasty. If you're doing a startup, if Wentz falls like towards the end of your draft, I would definitely – this is not my Eagles person talking. This is just like value talking. He's going to start. Mikey and I had this conversation the other day. So if you can get Wentz in like the 14th or some crazy round, some crazy-ass round, like you have to pounce on that. That's like a reclamation project at that point. But, yeah, now Mikey's back up. So
for sure. So here I am. I got a minute and 15 seconds left. Now, I was going to take Brandon Cooks because he is all except 1 year since 2015, he has been a top 20 receiver in PPR leagues, and I love that. But I'm really scared because he's staying in Houston and Sean Watson likely isn't. So God only knows what's going to happen with his value moving forward. I'm not extremely fond of any of the running backs on the board. You know me, I really like Chase Edmonds, but I sure as hell am not taking him here. David Johnson's still there if I want some immediate value, but I use the term value very loosely.
Yeah.
I could use a tight end here, which seems to be the safest pick for me considering 3 teams behind me needs to go tight end. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I became a very big fan of Big Bob Robert Tonyan this year, and I'm going to take him. I'm going to pair him with Aaron Rodgers, and every time Tonyan gets a touchdown, I'm going to do a little jig next year. And look at that. There was a run on tight end. Evan Ingram goes next, and then Zach Ertz. So I think it was a good spot there to pick a tight end.
Great spot to pick him on. I forgot he was still there. I mean, that's a good pick. It's a great pick.
Yeah, I cannot complain about that at all. So here I am again. I'm up. Stinks because I was probably going to take Devontae Parker with this pick, but Devontae Parker went a few selections ago. Looking at the running back list, Damian Harris is there, who is kind of appealing, but at the same time, I don't really want to touch any Patriots with a 10-foot pole right now. So, yeah, I'm probably going to opt out of that one. So I got to go receiver here. The top guy on the board, according to the Sleeper app, is Marquise Hollywood-Brown. I'm not a fan of Marquise Brown at all, but I am a big fan of Deebo Samuel, who we were talking about earlier, who I was surprised to see was ranked so low on the Sleeper app. Deebo's great. You know, when they have him in the game, they write up plays for him. Admittedly, he is the wide receiver 2 on that team behind Brandon Ayuk, but I don't think it's a large margin. And Debo, even if he only catches 4 or 5 receptions a game, right? They're always going to set up at least 1 or 2 screens for him, and that's when he does his real damage. He's a great gadget player out there, and he's just a great player in general. And if he can stay healthy, he is, in my opinion, a top 25 dynasty receiver to have. So I'm going to go ahead and take Debo Samuel here.
Yeah. Ironically, I'm also going to take a receiver. Wow. It's like great minds think alike. No, I was hoping to take Debo Samuel. Once again, that's the perk of, or the not the perk of picking after you in the startup. Some good receivers. You're looking at running back. Mikey already did. There wasn't much. There's some there, but there's not enough that I can wait. I can always trade a receiver as well. So
yeah.
I'm not falling into the Michael Gallup tree again. I like him, but that receiving core is too crowded. I also don't like Marquise Brown. I don't think I had him. I was in 6 leagues, not as many as Mikey, but I didn't have Marquise Brown. I had him in our 1 league, but I picked him up as a playoff waiver claim. But that's how bad. And in a partial keeper league, Marquise Brown was dropped. So you know what I mean. I just very sour on him. Jarvis Landry, I like. But I don't like the fact that he was really faded out of the offense. And there are some younger guys in Cleveland that are really shining. I love Corey Davis more than most. Mikey knows that. But I don't know where he's going to sign. So it's a little scary. Brandon Cooks, same thing. Mikey's picking up Google.
I am, actually, because I want to look up Michael Gallup's contract. And it's exactly what I thought. He is a free agent in 2022.
Well,
that's
I'm
kind
doing
of
the part of
interesting.
it, and I'm taking the guy who is currently a free agent and who I think is an underrated receiver, and who someone else on the phone the other day had this conversation with me, and they said he was also an underrated receiver.
Curtis Samuel's incredible. I mean, obviously, I am a Carolina Panthers fan, so I'm going to love anyone that plays for the Panthers, except for Teddy Bridgewater. Don't like him. Going off on a tangent here for a second, but Teddy Bridgewater, as soon as they picked him up last offseason, I said, this is ridiculous. We should not have paid him that kind of money. I'm pissed. I'm angry, whatever. People called me crazy. They were like, dude, you're going to fall in love with Teddy by week 2. I'm still waiting to fall in love with him, but hopefully I don't even have the opportunity to, because I want them to go and get Deshaun Watson. How likely that is? No idea, but we'll see. Anyway, back to your pick. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I like listening to you rant. It's pretty funny. So there's a couple receivers here. There's quite a few that have a lot of upside still. It's just weird the way Sleeper is drafting like the computers for us. There's still a bunch of that at the position. Like I literally went 3 running backs early. We both did, so that's why I'm not pressed to like scrounge for backs, because we both know we're gonna be well okay for like starting 3 a week, if we know what I mean. And
yeah.
We both went quarterback already. We both have tight end. We both have several receivers. So at this point, you're just drafting best player available, or who you like. I feel like going forward as a dynasty franchise.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's really, especially with the running backs, I mean, there's not a whole hell of a lot on the board right now. I'm looking at the running back list now. There's a few names that stick out to me, but none that I'm taking ahead of some of the depth receivers that are there.
That's exactly. So I'm looking at the receivers, and there's like some older upside guys, you know. There's some guys that are having career years. Like I'm thinking maybe Cole Beasley here, another slot receiver who literally tore the NFL up. I don't think anyone expected him to be that good this year. You could go with Brandon Cook. I'm not a big Brandon Cooks fan.
I know you're not. I personally am, and if he falls to me, it's going to come down between him and another person, because I feel like, and dude, in the 10th round, I mean, even if Brandon Cooks doesn't have Deshaun Watson thrown at him next year, he has only finished outside of the top 20 PPR receivers 1 time since 2015. Like I feel like that kind of value in round 10 is unheard of.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go youth here. This is a player that I genuinely, personally feel like, and I'm sure this fan base will probably like me for saying this, I feel like he's gonna take a step up in the offense, and he's very consistent. I think for the first like 6 or 7 weeks or something like that, he didn't drop a single pass. Mr. Gabriel Davis of Buffalo. He quietly had a very good year as a rookie. As a rookie, mind you.
No, I love that pick, and especially as of later on in the season and even in the playoffs, Gabriel Davis has looked really good, and
Yeah.
he looks like he's becoming Josh Allen's, number 2 go-to guy. Obviously, no one's passing Stephon Diggs anytime soon for that title,
Yeah, but
but
it's
Gabriel Davis looked pretty good.
yeah, John Brown's 29, 30 years old, so there's not much. And then Cole Beasley's also he's great, but he's also older. So Davis has value going forward when the other two guys age out.
I completely agree. And Josh Allen showing up with an MVP caliber season, I mean, definitely helps his odds of succeeding. And I would imagine Josh Allen's success is going to be sustained into the future. Is he going to have an MVP caliber year every single year? Absolutely not. No one sustains that. But Josh Allen has shown that he's a very good quarterback, and Gabriel Davis is going to be a direct beneficiary of that. Speaking of direct beneficiaries, like I was saying, Brandon Cooks has never finished outside of the wide receiver 20, with the exception of one season between now and 2015. So I'm going to take Brandon Cooks here. I'm scared of what the situation is going to be like, but it's the 10th round. It's worth the risk. He's talented. He's Brandon Cooks. I'm taking him.
That's true.
All right. So Daniel Jones and Carson Wentz both win. We got some young tight ends off the board.
I want to call
what? Who they? Well, you and I think alike because that last pick was between Brandon Cooks and Cole Kmet for me, so he probably wouldn't have fallen to you. Now I'm looking at this list. I have Aaron Rodgers, who we talked about, is going to be gone potentially in the next 3 to 4 years, but I'm not going to worry about that right now because I'm not in love with any of the quarterbacks that I have on here. I can get a solid enough backup in a couple of rounds, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. Back to the running backs because I'm deep at the receiver. I already have 5 receivers through 10 rounds. The guys that really stand out to me, Marlon Mack, maybe he gets a contract somewhere and can become at least a 1B type of running back on someone's roster. Darrell Henderson, God only knows what's going on with him, but he always seems to show up with at least a little bit of value. Anthony McFarland maybe doing okay in Pittsburgh. I don't know. There's nothing exciting
they're all
about this list.
Basically. These guys, they're all backup running backs.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing exciting about this, so I think I'm going to hold off on that. Now, the tight ends, this is something I'm interested in because Robert Tonyan, although I really like him, I'm not 100% sold on him. I mean, he only gets 3 to 4 targets in most games from Aaron Rodgers, so he's a very touchdown-dependent tight end. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a guy who is on a team, not necessarily a ton of upside on the team right now because I kind of get the feeling they're about to start their rebuild, but he could be a very consistent target for them. He's under contract for the next few years. He looked really good this year. So I'm going to take Hayden Hurst out of Atlanta because I like him.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with Hurst is that Tonyan's my touchdown guy. He's going to score more points most weeks than Hayden Hurst. But if you look at Hurst's track record, for the most part, I mean, with the exception of a couple dumper games, he was pretty consistent this year. So getting a guy like that as my backup tight end, I'm not going to complain.
No, you can't complain at all.
And I believe that makes me the first person to take 2 tight ends. No, our guy who picked 102 has both George Kittle and Jonnu Smith, and another guy has Hawkinson and Goddard, which I'm actually surprised Goddard fell all the way to the 10th round, especially with Zach Ertz on his way out.
Damn, the running back position is blah.
It's doo-doo, man.
It's very doo-doo.
Well, one of the things that we're not talking about is obviously if this is a startup draft, there's no rookies right now, right? So we would have a rookie draft this time in a couple of months for these teams. And even though we both probably have back half rookie picks, there are a half decent amount of running backs outside of Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. Outside of those 2 guys, there is some value to be had in the running backs. I'd say there's about 3 or 4 guys that I have my eye on. So I guess one of the bright sides that we can look at is if we don't get our running back depth here, the rookie draft's right around the corner for us, technically.
Yeah, so you could insinuate that there probably is more upside for some at this point for most positions with the upcoming rookie draft, as you just alluded to, especially for the running back position, because most of those guys that are left are stashes anyway. I think I'm just gonna go with running back just because why not? The question is who and why. And I think the one I wanted actually already went. Did Lynn Bowden go yet?
No, he's still there. He's listed as like a wide receiver running back hybrid. He's number 148 overall, if that helps.
Ah, okay, that's why I didn't see him. He was under the receiver. Yeah, I was thinking about him maybe, or
You got 30 seconds.
I know I'm taking down to the clock, bro. You know what? I'm gonna go with him. He finished hot last year.
There you go. Oh, Jeffrey Wilson. I love that pick. Wow. If I had realized he was still there, I probably would have taken him. That's a fantastic pick in round 11.
Yeah, at this point, like you said, half these guys are going to end up being either benched, dropped, traded, or not started. So
Yeah. So some of the guys of interest that went after your pick, Christian Kirk went. I'm personally not into Christian Kirk, but a lot of people are. Anthony McFarland went, the young running back out of Pittsburgh. I kind of feel like Pittsburgh's going to go out and draft another running back this year, so I wouldn't bother with that. Darius Slayton, Bryan Edwards, and Darnell Mooney are all young receivers that have shown flashes at some point, so those are pretty good picks. What are you thinking at pick 12 here? Now, we only have, counting this round, we only have 4 left, and you only have 1 quarterback and 1 tight end. So I'd imagine 2 of these next 4 picks is a quarterback and a tight end.
Do quarterback. Tight end I can at least get a little more leeway on, but quarterback, because my quarterback is 32, I want to have somewhat of a contingency plan. And this is more of a futures, like, dynasty pick. I genuinely feel this man is a good quarterback, so I'm taking Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold, you bastard. I was going to go with him there, too. This is the thing that sucks, man. We think two alike, and you just had to pick you just had to pick the slot right after me, didn't you? So we were doing this to each other.
There's also value. I wanted to trade him, so it's late in the draft.
For sure. So I'm going to wait on quarterback here. Maybe I'll take it my next pick because I'm looking at the draft board, and 3 out of the 4 guys that pick between now and my next pick, they already have 2 quarterbacks on their team. So I'd imagine that neither one of them are going to pick a quarterback. So I don't know. Probably next turn around, I'll probably just take Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr and call it a day for my backup quarterback. It's whatever. Yeah, it's not too bad. I definitely need running back assistance because I haven't taken a running back since the 3rd round. So I'm going to force myself to take a running back here, even though I'm not fond of it. No, there's not much. But what I will say is Rashad Penny's there. And I'm going to take him because Chris Carson is on his way out in Seattle. He can't stay healthy anymore or whatever. DJ Dallas was okay for them in my opinion, but they didn't have Rashad Penny this entire year. And they picked him in the 1st round 2 years ago. They're going to give him a shot, especially with Chris Carson kind of rolling over as of late. I think Rashad Penny is going to be the running back favorite in Seattle within 6 or 7 months. So he's the guy with the most upside on this list for me, so that's who I'm going with.
Yeah, I don't dislike it. There's some really good receivers that are still going late. Oh, there goes Kirk Cooper.
Yeah, I think
quarterback.
I think Mike Williams going in the 12th round is actually surprising. I feel like he always goes a lot earlier than that. But let's take a look. Does everyone else have 2 quarterbacks except for me? Yes, actually. Every single person in this league besides me has 2 quarterbacks. So fuck it. I'm going to keep waiting. I'm not going to take a quarterback here. I am going to opt in something different. And, oh, man, do I take the risk-reward player or do I take the young buck? I'm trying to pick between Antonio Brown and Paris Campbell right now. Antonio Brown with Tom Brady is actually lights out. He's looked really good in a lot of the games that he's had in Tampa. And I mean, no other team is really going to pay him. He's going to take whatever deal Tampa Bay gives him so that he can stay with Brady, in my opinion. But then Paris Campbell, in the 2 games that he got to play in this year, he looked really good. And him and Michael Pittman are going to form a hell of a receiver tandem over there in Indianapolis one of these days. But I am going to be waiting on him with Phillip Rivers retiring, and now there's just a big question mark. So, oh man, who do you like more here?
That's hard. I think you should just go Antonio Brown for the memes.
I'm thinking that too. Let's go. I mean, it's a mock draft. Let's have fun with it. Let's go Antonio Brown.
It's also your third pick, like the thing's almost over. So I'm going to go another receiver.
Exactly.
There's a couple younger guys. So.
Man, imagine someone telling you this time 2 years ago that AJ Green would still be on the board in the 13th round of a draft.
Yeah, or there's some really good receivers. So now there's still one that I like that I think is going to. Okay, well you're gonna get mad when I do this, so I'm just gonna do it. Sorry.
I do like Donovan Peoples-Jones a lot. Now, one of the things I will mention is that the mock draft we're doing today is only 15 rounds. So typically it's a lot deeper than that. So you can really get into those depth players, in your round 18, 19, 20, however many rounds that your startup is going to be. We're just doing a 15-round mock draft here just to not take up 2 hours of anyone's time.
And I'm happy this guy fell this late because he still has value, even though his brain is a mush. Didn't click.
Ooh. Rob Gronkowski. I like that. He's a good guy to pair with Mike Gesicki in your tight end tandem, especially because Gronk's already come out and said that he wants to return to Tampa Bay. So hopefully him and Antonio Brown both get contracts for the sake of my 13th round pick and your 14th round pick.
Well, for anyone in this position, you take Gronk, right? Let's say he retires. Most people won't have OJ Howard or Cameron Brate on their roster unless they're a Gronk owner. So if you have Gronk, whether you're already in the league or redoing it, if he does retire, just go out and waiver claim or bid on one of those two because they're not going to draft a tight end. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, I agree, and I like that take. And I actually just found a running back that I actually really like, and I'm going to take here, and that's Gus Edwards.
No, I was hoping you.
There is nothing. I mean, I like J.K. Dobbins as much as the next guy, but there is nothing to suggest that J.K. Dobbins is going to run away with the job next year. Him and Gus Edwards, in my opinion, are going to form a near even time split. And the fact that you get Gus Edwards, a potentially good enough to start in your roster 14th round running back, that's fantastic. I'm going to take that any day of the week. So I feel like Gus Edwards is arguably the best value pick in this entire draft right now.
Dude, he's up there.
And now I'm going to make a decision here. So we were mentioning that you go for your depth players later on. This is the last round of the draft. So if I were in a real 15-round draft, I would make sure to come away with my other quarterback, and I probably would take Derek Carr here. But since I was going back and forth between Antonio Brown and Paris Campbell back in round 13, and Paris Campbell is still there, I am going to take my final depth piece in Paris Campbell at receiver, and now my draft is.
I'm going receiver too because it's not a real draft, A, and B, because receivers are hot commodities. So, I mean, every position is. So sure, I may have too many receivers, but I can easily flip one for a running back. And besides the running backs left, I literally was banking on Gus Bus still being there at the last pick. I was hoping slid by you. But there's not much. Like James White, he has some games, but who knows? The Patriots are going in a weird direction. They also have like 80,000 running backs on their roster. Sony Michel, bust. Wayne Gallman, only relevant when Barkley gets hurt. Kerryon Johnson, not even going to be on the team probably this
That's
year.
what I should have did. I should have taken Gallman since I have Saquon, but fingers crossed that Saquon has a healthy season.
Drafts are later than this, like you said. They're usually a couple more rounds. So you would be able to snoop around and get a guy like that. But there really isn't there's some safe picks, you know. Actually, I'm just gonna take this man because if this was a real draft, I would try to sell him with hype. Also, if this is a real draft, this guy would not be there still.
Nelson Aguilar. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. So the draft is complete. Let's review our teams here. So I'll go over mine first. My starting lineup is Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, which can't complain about that. RB1 and RB2 is Saquon and Austin Eckler. My top three receivers are Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and DJ Chark. And then my flex options, I have Cam Akers in my flex, which I cannot complain about at all. I'm really loving that I went for 3 running backs to start this draft because the way that worked out was just awesome, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then my last flex spot is between Deebo Samuel and Brandon Cooks. And at any given week, either one of those guys can have over 20 points. I would say Deebo Samuel's the more ceiling player, where Brandon Cooks is my safer guy. So depending on the matchups, you know, we'll play those as the year goes on. And yeah, I mean, I even have Antonio Brown in there too, who I actually have in mine and Dylan's Dynasty League. I have Antonio Brown, and I started him almost every single game that he was available during the season. And he was, I don't want to say he was money, but he was definitely safe. So I really like this roster that I have going on. Admittedly, it's not my favorite roster in the world, but for a 15-round mock draft, I can't complain with it at all.
No, it's definitely gonna be an upper tier team. I mean, you have the running back situation. If Eckler bounces back, like you and I know he will, and in Barkley as well, you have 2 potential. No, not potential. Barkley will be a top 5 back when healthy, and Eckler can creep close to top 5 category. So you literally have an infallible 2-way punch. Keenan Allen, we talked about him. DJ Moore, we all love him. DJ Chark's maybe meh, but it could be good. Big Bob's good. Yeah, so yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a look at your team here. So go over it for us.
I went a mixture. Let me pull it up. I went a mixture of youth, as you can see, with some older talent, mostly youth, besides like 2 positions. So Ryan Tannehill is a safe bet. He's not going to be sexy and get you like 80,000 points like Josh Allen did this year, or Lamar Jackson did last year, or Aaron Rodgers this year, or Mahomes. Well, he's a guy that you'll get the average and you'll have upside for, which is really all you want from a fantasy quarterback. Don't let anybody else tell you wrong. You just want your fantasy quarterback. If your fantasy quarterback can consistently hit like 20 points a week, you're doing something right.
Yeah, you should be happy with that.
That's all you need. You know, it's just. I got blessed with Josh Allen in like 3 leagues this year. Like the tall, lanky draft boy carried me. You know, I'm grateful.
Screw you.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, and we're in all of those leagues together, and you have Josh Allen everywhere. I could kill you.
Nick Chubb, besides this year, is generally a healthy man, and homie he's built like a tank. I wanted that on my team.
Oh yeah.
I know some people probably was thinking he took Chubb over Cook, but we also don't know the direction the Vikings are going in. The Browns are trending upwards for the first time in their existence, so I'll take that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, not his biggest fan, but Mikey laid it out earlier. He had a lot of yards. Also, he has a shit ton of value. You can easily trade him if you don't like him. So it's a good 1-2 stack, not the best. I love Scary Terry. If they actually get a decent quarterback, I think his value, he could be a top 5 receiver in the fantasy. And I'm not throwing that at the wall. I'm being serious. If he think about who's thrown to him in his career so far.
Alex Smith, Kyle Allen, Dwayne Haskins. I mean, you're right. He has not had. Yeah. Just
saying. Chase Claypool, not his biggest fan either because he's a baby back bitch. But he's going to be in the slot, and Juju should leave, and that will increase his value. Cortland Sutton, bounce back. Mike Gesicki, tight end. A little inconsistent, but I think Mike was still, like top 8, top 9 tight ends to finish the year?
Yeah, he was pretty up there. I think he was actually like top 5 or top 6 because of a couple of big games that he had. And, you know, like we were saying earlier, if Tua comes on a bit stronger this year and they can get him some offensive line help, Gesicki is easily the most talented pass catcher on that team. It's not a knock to Devontae Parker. It's just that anything Devontae Parker does, Mike Gesicki does in the middle of the field. I think he does a little bit better. So
Yeah.
I do like that pick. You essentially have Miami's go-to guy at the tight end position.
Yep. And then my flexes are Miles Sanders. And like you said for your team, if Miles Sanders is a flex on your team in any league, you're doing something right. And then my other flex, not as sexy, but it's Curtis Samuel. Although Curtis Samuel, I dumped him this past season because I had him in like 2 leagues. Well, league and a half. I traded him. But he was that player that I like benched a lot because, he would like kind of go back and forth, but predominantly he had a killer year. And it got to the point where like I just benched him in my one league and started him in the other league, so I knew that he would ball out in my one league. So big boy plays.
There you go. You'd always have the benefit of the doubt working for you.
Because he was that guy that I feel like most people listening, or they probably agree. If you had him, you probably didn't start him all the time unless you had to, because before this season he was like a flex type player, and then this year he's only 24.
Yeah, and with him being a free agent, I mean, if someone goes out and signs him and they give him the type of money that he's likely going to ask for after having 1,000-yard scrimmage season, Curtis Samuel's going to be featured somewhere, in my opinion. Maybe not as a wide receiver 1, but definitely as a gadget type of player, wide receiver 2, slot kind of guy. So I definitely think – I don't want to lose him in Carolina, but I have a feeling we're going to. And wherever he goes, I think he's going to excel.
Probably. I have a feeling that most of the free agents in real life are going to leave their respective teams, like not Landry. Corey Davis in Tennessee, I think, is going to leave. Samuels.
Yeah. Well, then you have Kenny Golladay and Chris Godwin are big name free agents too, and I don't think either of them are staying put.
Yeah. Only free agent that I would want out of this class would be probably Chris Godwin or Corey Davis, because they are more consistent with health. With receivers, I'm an Eagles fan, so I've only seen injuries in my lifetime in the last couple of years. So, like, I genuinely, that's part of the thing. If I see a guy who's injury prone, I just don't want that on my team. That's about it. But my bench is definitely weaker than yours in this league. I went with youthful. Like, I went with Gabriel Davis. He's 21 years old. Like, it's super young. I went with Sam Darnold. Sam's only 23. We forget. The poor guy. I feel like he's been through Nam, but he's not that old. He looks like he's been through Nam too. Poor guy. After being on the Jets for a couple of years, and Adam Gase as their coach does to you. Keeper was 21. So I snagged a couple of young receivers. Jeffrey Wilson. Most of these guys wouldn't start over the flexes. The only guys you could argue that would start are maybe Gronk and Aguilar. But I think, considering we were talking about a dynasty, I think it was important to grab a couple of young receivers and just stash on my bench in coup with the draft, because then I could potentially, depending upon my draft, have Mikey knows this. In my one league, I recently won. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. But
yeah, who'd you take the trophy from? Yeah, I know.
You, but no. My point is, this is going off the draft and just a little, like, a 10-second advice. Mikey, who do I have on my practice squad that I did not activate? I have, like, the cream of the crop reinforcements.
I hate you. You're just going to make me say it. He's got both Antonio Gibson and CeeDee Lamb on his practice squad right now.
Yeah, and Drew Lock, if you're a person like me who still, like, believes in him. So I have 3 guys. So my point is, it's always good to take younger players, because some leagues might allow you to put a younger player on the practice squad, some don't. So it's good to have that value. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think we both had pretty good drafts. Admittedly, I think my team is going to cream your team. I guess we'll face off in week 1 or whenever the hell our mock matchup is. But no, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, once the sleeper app adapts and they get the rookies on there, because right now they don't have them on there for whatever reason. But as soon as we get that going, you and I will definitely have to hop on here and do a rookie draft for everyone as well.
Yeah,
actually, that's not even for everyone. That's just for me and you. I think that's a selfish thing that you and I are both going to want to do. I'm so excited to do that. But yeah, so that's going to wrap it up for here today. Thanks for checking out our very first video here on the Loaded Box Vids. Feel free to check out the loadedboxpodcast.com. We've got our articles over there. We've got links to the podcast over there. Feel free to follow Loaded Box on Twitter as well, @LoadedBox. No special characters, no numbers. Should be really easy to remember. Follow Dylan over there on Twitter @DylanMazzola. which you can find below on our screen here. And then feel free to follow me too, FF_Mikey10 over there on Twitter. Admittedly, not on Twitter as much as I used to be, but always down to talk some football. Feel free to comment on my stuff.
He's still on there when the Panthers are playing or when it's fantasy football. You'll see his tweets.
Yeah, they're usually really happy or really pissed. Just depends on how the day is going. Usually really pissed because nothing ever seems to work out. But
yeah, Mikey likes Philadelphia sports, everything else, and I'm a only Philadelphia guy. So if you follow my Twitter, it's just depression. It's just Philadelphia sports.
Oh man, well hey, at least we got the Flyers to look forward to this year. They're looking pretty good. But all right, well that'll do it for us here today on Loaded Box Vids. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe on the video, and we'll see you next time.